Hi, my name is Ryan Foley. I'm 23 years old. I currently work as an occupational therapist at Dundee Hospital, and I have major depressive disorder and generalized anxiety disorder. I've had these conditions probably since about puberty, if I think back to when I actually started experiencing symptoms, but I didn't realize this at the time. Part of my anxiety was very severe social anxiety, which isn't very well understood. It's more understood, oh, she's shy. And I hate the word shy because I feel like it blanket covers everything and it absolutely invalidates the experience that you're having. I didn't realize that I had anything actually until my final year of study, so this was last year, when I went on a rural prac, and in that prac we lived with another classmate of ours while we did this prac. And she has anxiety and depression, and only living with her and her seeing the severity of my symptoms and what was going on, did she say, actually, I think that you might have these conditions and you should see someone. And it was then that I went to a psychiatrist, and I was very fortunate in having an absolutely amazing psychiatrist. But even so, from speaking to my friend, I had to wait 2 months before I was able to see the psychiatrist because of the waiting list. And when I saw her, I didn't know what the condition was. She was very kind, and because I had enough time, I rambled on, and she was actually able to make sense of what I was saying and said, this is what I think that you actually have. And it made a lot of sense. You know, I was very nervous about going to get help because I didn't know what it meant. I didn't want to be crazy. Even though I've had so much experience working with other MHCUs, I never considered myself to be one until I was actually formally diagnosed. And then having gone on medication and seeing the huge difference that it makes in my quality of life and my ability to function. Because when I'm in my major depressive episodes, because for me it happens in episodes, just thinking that I was being lazy because I wasn't able to get out of bed, because I wasn't able to do my assignments, because I would find everything that I was doing such a chore. And then on the other hand, being in situations and feeling so anxious, just my heart racing and feeling like I just couldn't breathe happening all the time, and just thinking that maybe that is what it's like, maybe that's just who I am. But I think it's important to note that people with mental illnesses such as myself can have proper paying jobs. We don't only have to work in labor or have things that are for the lesser skilled. We're able to have skilled jobs. We're able to study at university. We're able to have functional relationships. It's not always easy, especially in the beginning when you start to realize that you have a mental illness, because you do have to disclose. And I was very, very fortunate that my family was very understanding. I mean, of course, in the beginning it was difficult, you know, because there's still very little understanding, because depression is still equated with being sad and anxious is equated with being nervous, and it's just not the same thing at all. But I'm very fortunate as well that I'm engaged and that my fiance is incredibly understanding. He's been there with me through some very dark patches. And I think it's also important to note that you can get married and be in a proper long-term relationship if you have a mental illness. You're not doomed to be alone because nobody understands, and a lot of the time you have to do the explaining and you have to educate yourself first. But people are willing to go on a journey with you if you involve them in it. And I mean, I know with my family, with my fiance, we were all learning together at the same time about what was going on. And I should also mention that because I had that support, and again, I understand how fortunate I am, I didn't have to be institutionalized. I took time off varsity, and I've taken time off work before, and I've had my own rehab recovery at home, where luckily I've had that support. But being institutionalized isn't to say that something is wrong with you, that you are unable to function. It's often, do you have the support necessary? And if you do, then sometimes you don't have to be institutionalized. And if you don't, sometimes you do. And that's not a failing of you as a person. And I think that that's very important to differentiate. And I also just want to take a moment to note that occupational therapists aren't very well known in the mental health sphere. But our primary function is to help you with the day-to-day things. So getting out of bed in the morning, being able to do your job, being able to study, I myself saw an OT as well as being an OT, and it was a very interesting experience. But it's very practical, and if you don't know what our services are, you can always speak to someone about us. We're often found in the rehab department, and I think that it can be very useful actually seeing an OT, because it is about the function. Sometimes your medication can only get you so far, but you still need to do your job, you still need to look after your kids, you still need to actually have a shower, because I know when I'm depressed, having a shower doesn't happen very often, and I need those reminders and I need that support, and that is definitely something that an OT can do. So I would just like to put that out there. But there's definitely hope, and the awareness is growing, and there's a lot of organizations such as this one that is there to help you. And reach out, we're here, we're wanting to be part of your journey. Just reach out for the resources.